everybody. I'm Jenna Relo. I'm the co-chair of the program committee, and just really excited to introduce Kathy, our presenter today. I read this introduction and I'm like, this is so me. If I could just get more organized, then I could get around to my dream. If I could create another 5 hours in every day, then I would actually have time for myself. If I could just receive a sign, then I would know I'm headed in the right direction. You have your work cut out for you. So how long have you been saying these things to yourself, whether in business or in your personal life? How long have you been loitering at the edge of finally moving past all the reasons that we can't do what we want? Over the past 15 years, Kathy Potts has been a strategic performance expert and coach for individuals who are tired of playing with the ideas of getting something accomplished and who are looking to make a breakthrough to their personal best. She is known for the breakthrough as the breakthroughologist, and for the next 45 minutes, which we know some of you may need to leave early, we understand. But if you can stay, I think it would be very well worth your while. Kathy Potts, the creator of Destination Breakthrough Luxury Reset Retreats, will help us understand how we can choose the game using 4 keys to performing in any situation. Let's welcome Kathy Potts.
How many of you have the list? And some people call it the bucket list. But it's that list that continues to sit on the side over and over again, and then the family comes in, and then the job comes in, and before you know it, life happens, and the list doesn't get done. Now, I'm not talking about something as important as rearranging the spice rack finally. I'm talking about something that you want to accomplish in your life that if I had a conversation with you at the very end of your life, you will have regretted not taking action on it. This is something that has been eating at you. It's inside. When you think about it, it gets into your gut. Anybody here have that? That list, that maybe 1 or 3 items that you want to get to? Yes or no? This is going to be interactive. Yes, okay. You can go to pretty much any motivational speaker. You can go to any sort of a seminar and have that moment be extremely powerful and have that be the time that you make that decision for you. You don't necessarily have to go to an Anthony Robbins. You don't necessarily go and have to sit in Oprah's audience. It can happen for you at any time. My question is, how many of you are ready? You're definitely ready, okay? Good. You know that you want to do something that you're not doing. Okay, wonderful. Well, I was in that place too. And it doesn't ever happen to you just once. It happens to us over and over again. So long as we're alive and you keep learning and time continues on and it's dynamic, it continues on where we're getting into status quo. And just because you can, you stick with the habit. It's safe, it's more comfortable. But that minute that you have that gut feeling that something's not quite right here and I'm about ready to disrupt the life of my family, of my friends, and of my employers. That's scary, right? And for those of you that have the courage to go for it, that means change is right at your feet. So I'm going to offer you an extremely powerful set of tools today. And more than anything, I hope that by giving you some information and a story or two, that you guys find yourself crossing over the edge into new territory beyond your own status quo. Now, getting ready for coming up with the big keynote, I went and I looked at 63 different motivational seminar clips out on YouTube. And what I found is they're all saying the same yada yada blah 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 thing, pretty much, right? The same concepts, the same theories, but what stood out more than anything else were the stories. And ever since you and I were little, and ever since people were getting together in groups, it's the stories that cause us to break through. It are the ahas. It's when we put ourselves into that possible character and we see that hope for ourselves that the stories start to become real. So yes, I am going to share with you some blah blah theory, but more so than that, I think it's going to be more powerful to share with you some stories. So, in 1976, if you were to come to my home in Lakewood, Colorado, you may very well have heard this coming from the basement of our home. You see, my mother... Just invite me. My mother was a music teacher, a church vocalist, and an aspiring opera singer. And so she was raising my sister and I. My dad was present in my life, but my mom had the primary custody. And in order to make all of the ends meet, she stuck with that talent and honed it and drove day after day wanting to be this opera singer. And so we learned at a very young age, if we wanted to spend any time with Mom, that meant we were there nestled by that piano. Well, in roughly 1976, my mother was cast by the Denver Symphony Orchestra to be Violetta in the Giuseppe Verdi's La Traviata. And they were going up to the Evergreen Performing Arts Center in Colorado, and seeing as how my mom didn't want to afford daycare, she brought my sister and I with her. And she was getting ready to vocalize and decided to go outside. Now, I was 3. And at 3, I was about this short. So if you can imagine this short little girl. Now, what you also need to imagine is a little girl with pigtails and a pot belly. Because every Saturday night, my mom would go down to Mario and Company, where the owner would feed me spumoni ice cream, and I would gladly eat all of it. So here I am, this short little pot-bellied, pigtail-haired little girl with my mom, who's now starting to prepare. And she started to vocalize. Me. And to her surprise, at 3 years old, I repeated back. Me. And as we walked around the lake, my mother held my hand. And just like you would think, well, isn't that interesting? Me. Me. Now, my mother was a diva, you must know. Me. But at 3 years old, so was I. Me. And so at 3 years old, we knew I had talent. My mother and I used to compare voices and try to see who could go as high above high C as the other. It was this talent that got me all the way through high school. And if it weren't for this talent, I don't know how I would have gotten into college really with the SATs. So get that. But I did compete in the St. Petersburg Yacht Club Opera Guild Festival. Now, my mother growing up had decided that in order to be this aspiring opera singer, she needed to have the life of an opera singer, or really an opera. Now, what do we all know about opera?
Tragic.
Exactly, it's tragic. And my mother's love life was exactly that. It was up and down and up and down. And it was very interesting to watch. But there were a couple of songs that I always thought encapsulated Mom's life. And one of them was, Alleluia, 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 Alleluia. Maybe a little high today. But there was another song, and I was in my first opera, The Magic Flute. It was my very first opera, where my mom sang, "Oh, he feels es ist verschwunden, ewig loss of her relationship because she thinks her man's cheating on her. It was those two songs that I sang in the Opera Guild that got me a full ride scholarship to the University of Florida. Now, I said I was a diva. I was. And University of Florida just wasn't good enough. I wanted to go to the best school in the state of Florida, so I auditioned for Florida State my sophomore year, and I got a full ride scholarship to Florida State. Now, wow, huh? If you have a talent like this, you should do what? You should use it. So I did. And I got a lot of applause, and I got a lot of attention. And I got a phone call my junior year. It was December of my junior year, prior to my recital. My mother called me and said, I have some news. I've just been informed by the doctors that I've got nodes. And there's no amount of surgery possible for us to change that. Now, what that means is you build calluses on your throat, that your vocal cords have been rubbing together, you've been using your voice in the wrong way, so my mother was no longer going to be able to sing, period. But her words to me were, thank goodness you're going to go ahead and carry the dream and take your audition to the Met. You see, that spring I was supposed to go to the Metropolitan Opera and audition. Now, at my junior recital, I remember standing on the stage, and I was singing something. And to be honest with you, I don't even remember what the song was today. I think it was, Il mio bambino caro, mi piace bella, something like that. And by the time I was finished, every single one of my peers and professors was standing, applauding, with tears. And I remembered at that moment, I heard the voice. Now, I'd had a voice my entire life. A speaking voice, a singing voice. But it was the first time I heard the voice. You know the one. It is the one that quietly talks to you. It's the one that you know is truth for you. And the voice said, if all you ever do is make them clap and cry, you did not reach your potential. In that moment, I knew that I was not meant to be an opera singer. I had no clue what the heck it was I was supposed to do, but I knew that it wasn't that. And so what does any college student do when they're at a crossroads? Or go party, you know. I myself did the whole, I'm going to go ahead and visit my dad. I'm going on vacation. So, unlike my mother, who was this very big diva, you know, my father's a mad scientist. And I'm talking googly-eyed, hairy, bushy brows. We had chemistry stuff in the garage. He was always freezing Jell-O for some reason out there. Really, I don't know why. My dad, sometimes you never get to hear the story of the people behind the cool things that impact our culture. My dad was the guy that invented the rubber compound that is the space shuttle discs at the very bottom of the shuttle so that they can re-enter and not burn up. He created that compound. My dad is also the guy that, you know, those Soloflex bars that stretch. Well, there's no such thing as gravity in space, so you still have to work out. So he's the guy that invented the rubber compound for those stretch bars. Okay, so anyway. Dad was more of the objective guy in my life. He was more the coach. So when I made the decision to go out and party with Dad, I went to Dayton, Nevada. Exactly. Some of you might know that, but most of you are like, what, huh? Dayton, Nevada is quite literally in the middle of nowhere. It takes roughly 2.5 hours to get there from Reno Airport. And the most action you're ever going to see in Reno are the wind tumbling the tumbleweeds across the dirt roads. Yeah, woo, I'm a real party animal. So when I arrived, Dad decided to take me to the big city, which was Reno, and we went and played slots. And we got finished with that, spent a great day, and the ride home was roughly about a 2-hour ride, and we were talking about love life, which at that time was awesome. I was dating 2 guys, they both knew it, I was very honest, and it's an entire another keynote maybe for February or something. So yeah, we'll leave that there. But I was very happy and satisfied that that was the bulk of the conversation on the way home. Because you can bet that I was hoping other things weren't going to come up. Unfortunately, as the Suburban drove across that bumpy dirt road back into the trailer area where my dad lived, the engine stopped and we had that silence. Each of you knows it. It's the silence right before the person that you hope doesn't talk to you says something to you. And in that moment, my dad said, "So, kiddo, why are you singing again?" So like any child, I tried to ignore hearing what he just said, and I got out of the car as fast as I could and tried to get inside. At which point, he walked around and said, "Stop. Stop. Look up. Do you see that cloud?" My dad is such a crazy scientist. Yeah. So I look up, and there's like one of those really, really high looking clouds. It's kind of hard to see. And I'm watching. He says, "You tell me when it moves." So I keep watching this cloud and thinking, what is this man up to? And after probably a minute, I said, "Dad, it's a really slow cloud. It's not moving." And he said, "That's because, my dear, that's not a cloud. That's the Milky Way." And it's the first time you've seen it with your naked eyes because you can't see it. You can't see its brilliance, and you can't see its possibility until you get out of the glitz and the glam and all the lights that are shining in your face, clouding the view. Now, as a college student, that was pretty profound. And it was followed immediately by the question, "So tell me, why are you singing?" And I will tell you, in that second, it was literally as if a bolt of lightning came and hit me right in my heart. And I buckled to my knees, and I sobbed. And I said, "I hate singing." No, I said, "I hate singing." How many of you continue day after day after day doing the things that you're really good at? You've developed an awesome ability to sing in your own way. But you're on your status quo. You're doing it simply because you can. You're doing it maybe because you felt you have to. But you stopped listening to the voice. So when I ask you, do you have a list? Do you have this voice? Do you have things that if I were to visit you at the end of your life, you haven't moved on with? Maybe it's time to start listening to the voice. The scariest moment that happened after I made that realization that I hated it was the next idea of, oh my gosh, not only do I hate it, but I'm actually going to stop doing it. I became a big girl that day. Got some big girl pants on. And with wobbly legs, walked in and called my mom. Picked up the phone, dialed the number, and said, "Mom, I have something important to tell you." "Well, what is it?" "I can tell there's something in your voice. You know the mother voice." "Huh? I got it." I said, "Well, I hate singing and I don't want to do it anymore." I can hear the air come out of the phone. Do you know what she said to me next? "That's okay, dear. I just want you to be happy." I could have cussed her out. Seriously, I was angry. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I've been working 18-hour days, 6 days a week, for however many years now, to be this opera singer, and what you have to tell me is, "I just want you to be happy." Really? Really? So I'm going to turn it back to you again. Those people that you're too afraid of disappointing by you moving on with it already, whatever it is for you, if we were to go and ask them in their heart of hearts what they just want for you, what would they say? Would they say, I just want you to be happy? Do you think? Probably. If somebody that you love very much were to come to you and say, I think I want to stop this, you'd probably be concerned, right? But what would you say to them? I just want you to be happy. What happens is we all create these stories in our head about what if, could, be, ought to, should, need. And we treat them as if they're true. In fact, you put yourself in this little courtroom. It's the courtroom in your head. And here's the fun part. You're the prosecution, and you're really good at it. How many of you are good prosecutors? Any lawyers in the room? Okay. Okay. Oh, we're not trying. Okay. In your head, you know who you are, right? You got this idea. And what is your name again?
Mine?
Yeah.
Shannon.
Shannon, can I work with you for like 2 minutes? Come on, Shannon, you're coming up. Give Shannon a round of applause for being great. Shannon, what is this thing you have that you really want to do? She's like, oh my God, I'm going to say it out loud now.
Get married.
Oh, get married. That's a big deal.
Never done that.
Okay. Do you have somebody in mind? Okay. She wants to go for it.
I've been through a couple.
Okay. Okay. And when you think about this goal of being married at some point in time, what are some of the voices going on in your head about why you shouldn't?
Next year is a good idea.
Next year's a good idea.
I've been doing that for about 50-some years. Next year.
Okay. And so, what's at trial here? What's on trial? What's the case?
Fear.
Well, fear is definitely one of the people we're going to put up in our witness stand, right? But what the case is that you're fighting here is to stay single. Why should you stay single?
Easier.
It's easier. See the prosecution, see? I've got what? What have you got that's helping you be single?
I can do it all myself.
Yep, she's got 56 years of proof that she can do it.
Yeah.
Okay, what else you got? Now,
I don't have to make space for anybody?
No. Now, this is the jury. Now, this is you. Me, myself, I, duplicate, whatnot. Don't you guys agree? 56 years she's been... Oh yeah. So the prosecution goes into the head and all of our multiple personalities and says, right, gang? We should stay single, yeah? Let's do this. Right? So we got the jury, and then you've got the judge, which is also you saying, and so it's so. You shall be single.
Forever, this lifetime.
Okay.
I say the next lifetime I'll do that because it's not so scary.
Do that. She's going to do that. Okay. How long has this prosecution held the courtroom floor?
Since most likely late 60s.
Since the late 60s.
When I got my heart broken.
Okay.
Big time.
Okay. So the prosecution, again, jury, don't you agree that this heartbreaking evidence supports our case? My question is, at what point in time did the defense ever get a shot? How much time have you given the defense? See, what's interesting is you still have this same set of jurors, and they're not hung on your case yet.
I gotta sit down before it gets warmer.
Oh! It happens with every single one of you. Elizabeth, you said you had something. You're sitting on that edge. What do you want?
I have a launch pad list.
A launch pad list.
Things that I'm going to do between now and whenever. I don't believe in bucket lists.
Okay.
I believe that I am here today, and I'm going to do this and this and this.
Jury, does that sound like a pretty convincing case for living the way she's living right now? Yeah. So you got that list. Okay, so what's next? What's that status quo thing that you just, I'll get to that next, or later?
Immediately, I'm doing some remodeling in my house.
Okay. So, but you're doing that. What are you not doing? And when it comes up in your face, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead over here to item number 5.
Dating.
This is a good table. Okay, come on up, Elizabeth.
Buy puppies instead. I have to think about that.
While we're on the topic,
Yeah.
I was widowed a few years ago, and Told them I'm a late bloomer, I feel like I'm 14.
Okay. So you've got, again, a prosecution fighting for the case. And the case is being safe. The case is being validated. The case is being justified. The case is not upsetting the other people in your life. My question is, what's it costing you?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
I'm doing all right. I'm still standing. I'm doing just fine.
And yet, when I ask the question, do you guys notice the quiet little voice of emotion? There's that quiet little voice of emotion like, yeah, I want to get there. That's like number 5. If you are fine and you are satisfied, then why does it knock at your heart? And that's not necessarily something for you to answer right this second. But that's a point for every single one of us to take away. If things are fine and it is so satisfying, then why does it emotionally knock at the heart?
I don't know.
It's the voice.
I was happily married.
Mm-hmm.
And you
And you ask that question of, if I had, it's not fair. Why'd this have to happen? Now, on your sheet, you have some characters. And Elizabeth, I'm going to go ahead and work with you because I think we got some of those characters going on here.
Oh no.
Right?
Everybody know about my personal life now? I'm 14.
Well, I have a gift for you.
Can I sit down there?
Oh, no. So uncomfortable. Let me put it here. For standing up and exposing yourself, I've got a CD for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
If you back up a step, for those of us who don't have time to even create the list, because we're afraid of messing with the status quo. A lot of us don't know what it exactly is on our list.
Kathy, what do you want to do?
I want to get my boys the heck out of my house.
So that you can?
So that I can just do whatever I want to do.
And that would
I
be?
don't know.
You know, here's the thing. I talk to people on a plane. I talk to people in a grocery store. I talk to people at events like this. I'll be talking to some of you at a table back there a little bit later on. And some people say, Kathy, but what do you do when you really don't know?
I did 2 things last year. I had a coaching session. What came out of that is I missed singing and I missed downhill skiing. And I did both of those things last year. And I'm at that point where I'm very happy. I don't need the next thing yet. But
Okay.
there will be at some
Well,
point.
that's a great thing. You listened and then you took action.
Yep.
Now, there are some characters that hijack you. The minute you start hearing that little voice pop up, one of the characters, now this could be at work. You guys probably see this a lot. These are the people that are the rage machines. They're the ones that are like, this stinks, don't you think? If I were running this show, I'd do it completely differently. Right, Krista? Don't you agree with me? Say it out loud, yes. And you're just angry. You're angry. This isn't fair. He shouldn't have gone. I shouldn't have to be here alone. Possibly. You're angry and not moving on. Or, in your life, you're saying, you know what? I really want to get on with writing that book. Or, I really want to go for that promotion. Or, I really want to present this idea at that staff meeting. Or, I really, really, really want to go ahead and take my own personal break and vacation from the family that's just for me and not be seen as selfish. It's not fair that I don't get to do it. And now I'm an adult woman having a temper tantrum. And I'm angry. Anybody relate to that? Okay, here's the news. You probably feel like you're being really productive. And you are. You're producing nothing. But you're working really hard at it. It takes a lot of energy for you to be that angry. That's one character. The next character is the pity party. This is the one where you're maybe sarcastically, shoving it off, making jokes possibly to deflect the real issue. This is the one where, when I was in corporate America, I worked at Home Shopping Network. I ran their leadership development for 10 years. I was the person that ran all strategy, team performance, orientation, onboarding, business strategy, blah, 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 you name it. And I would always come across people that had a resume that was inflated. And then it would come time to say, so what's your name? Kirsten. 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 So Kirsten, if you were working with me and I looked at your resume and I said, okay, Kirsten, I'm going to put you on a project. Bring me the plan next week. You've done plans, yes? Yes. Okay, so the next week comes and let me see the plan. I don't have the plan. But I'm working on it. Let me show you about all the details. I'm working on that. Okay, great. So tell me about the details, we'll have an update, and then we'll have a touch base next week. Next week comes, I say, show me the plan. Well, let me tell you about the updates. And it goes on and on. You guys knew that. That's where you're not seeing any progress. You're being an adult who doesn't want to go ahead and show that you don't know how to do it. And you're having a little tiny pity party to yourself. And the difference between your pity party and your rage machine is that you're out loud and you're recruiting. You're by yourself and you're not bringing the boat down with you. You're confident and unmotivated. You're insecure and would like to get on with it, but you don't want to be exposed. What you guys both have in common is that you're not performing. So you're both busy doing nothing. You're busy being angry and you're busy being worried. And then we get to my next character, and I love this character. How many of you watched Saturday Night Live? Okay, Will Ferrell had this skit where he was a homeless guy and he was brought into this art studio and he was supposed to do that famous sculpture of the thinker. And he goes, but I got another one. The thinker becomes the stinker. Well, that's what happens when you're that person who's so busy weighing the pros and the cons. Why should I go ahead and take that vacation and that skiing trip? Why shouldn't I go ahead and do that? Should I go ahead and leave this job and go for the promotion? Shouldn't I go ahead and leave this job and leave the promotion? I don't know. Should we go ahead and sell the house and move into something else? I don't know. That's great for you to sit back and collect data, but when you're doing it for so long that now it's a cycle and you're not getting anything done, guess what you do? Nothing. But you're busy thinking hard, so it feels like you're being productive. And then that's why you've got the thinker, the pity party, and the rage machine all on the sidelines of life doing nothing, but feeling emotional, so it feels exhausting. You move on from that then, and then you've got people that come on the court and off the court of life. The on the court sometimes is what I like to call Mrs. Needy. This is the person who goes out there, and I try it, and what's your name? Jody. And so Jody says, I'm going to go ahead and try this thing called getting up and speaking at meetings like this and networking my business, which is a bank. And so, hi, I'm Jody. And then I go back to my friend, how did I do? Did I do okay? Did I shake her hand right? Was that okay? Oh, I'm not good at this. And so it's not like the pity party. Jody's out there and she's doing it, but then she goes and sucks the life and energy out of everybody else to give her pats on the back. You guys know these people. In a job, these are the people that are so insecure, but they're performing. And as a leader, you're like, would you get on with it already so that I don't have to go ahead and pat you on the back every single time you breathe? These are the folks that are insecure and doing. So there's a lot of wasted time, and as women, a lot of times we don't give ourselves credit for those touchdown moments. Or even the 1-inch, bringing the chains out, prove you that you made that little bit of gain. The next one I also like is what's called the shipwrecked survivor. You know the ones, like we tried that. Yeah, I did that in my life. Yeah, I did this whole thing called dating. Whatever. Kathy, I go to these meetings. Whatever. Oh, Kathy, I would love to go ahead and take that dream vacation I've been thinking about, but I did that. Things happen. Whatever. That's in life. If you're in the whatever stage, you've gone ahead and said, I don't know, I tried that, and I give up. I guess I'll be fine now. I could have been fine as an opera singer. I could have been dandy. A second story I didn't get to share with you, but I will share it with you right now, is I was a 6-figure executive at HSN. My husband got fired. Not let go, fired. For those of you that understand the difference in this economy, it's huge. I should have done the right thing, according to normal standards, which has been in that 6-figure job, held up the salary and the benefits, but I'll tell you what, I did it for as long as I felt I could, and then I became dead inside, because I knew I wanted to become a professional speaker, an executive coach, a business coach, and one day, I didn't want to be the shipwreck survivor anymore. I didn't want to be fine. I didn't want to be satisfied. I wanted to feel alive. Now, I'm not saying go hug a tree and sing Kumbaya. You have to use your head. But I guarantee you, if you take a look at your sheet and you look at those questions I'm asking, what is it costing you? What is it costing you to be so status quo in your life? What is it costing the people that look up to you as role model for you to be status quo in your own life? It's costing you a lot. It's probably costing you respecting yourself. And what you need to do is say, well, I don't know how to do it. Well, the first thing is you have to make a decision. Are you going to do it or aren't you? Chocolate or vanilla? It's really that simple. Yes or no. You know, Elizabeth, you going to start dating? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes! Rock on with bad self. Every woman. It's all in Elizabeth. Woo! I'm on the scene. All right, sweet. But making the decision and then you jump and you go for it. But then you figure out how. I can help you design a plan on how to get to wherever it is you're going like that. That's not the issue. The issue is you making a decision to go for it. That's the issue. You can construct a plan. Now, Christine is a coach in your group. If you guys haven't taken her up on having a conversation with her about how she can help you get from point A to Z, you need to. Most of us are in our own forest, looking at our own trees, and it's hard for us to understand, how do I build the bridge to the next hill? It's difficult for us sometimes to see that. Why? Because you're faced with that decision and your jury, and they're all agreeing with the prosecution. If you've gotten in the habit of being status quo in your life, part of what's happening is you're giving that prosecution so much time that you don't even know how to stand in defense. And when you have a coach, when you have somebody from the outside helping you, they help you build the strength to be your own defense. To say, what am I going to gain out of going for it? When I jumped from corporate America, I hired a business coach immediately. And the benefit of that was that I went through a major life transition. But we set in place the business systems that allowed me to break even mid-August. I left in July of last year. And I was then profitable in my business by August 31st. Profitable, not break even. Today, I keep on doubling and hiring contractors, may have an employee here or there. Who knows? I'm much more of a solopreneur. It's kind of hard to do that when you're traveling around the country, you know. But if you know what you want, and then you use your head. So if you listen to your heart, use your head, you can go ahead and build those bridges. Understand what's being sacrificed. Understand what you're going to gain when you go for it. You will be living, feeling alive. Now, in 1996, Dr. Yvonne Chanella, the Dragon Lady, was my studio coach at Florida State. And the day I decided I don't want to do this anymore, I stopped singing altogether. Because I realized I was having to, ought to, should, and I was burnt out. But the day of freedom came for me in 2005, roughly 2005, 2006. Sarah Brightman had just come out with a CD. And on that CD, she went ahead and took the bull by the horns and took on Nessun Dorma, a coveted song by Luciano Pavarotti. And I thought, that woman's got cojones, right? And so I took my CD player, and I took that CD, and I went down to Sunfish Bay, which is this little place in Safety Harbor, Florida. And it's a little place where you've got mangroves and people in kayaks that come up. And so for the first time in roughly 10 years, I pushed play. And I rolled up my pants, and I went into the water. Nessun dorma, nessun dorma, tu pure, o principessa, nella tua fredda stanza, guardi le stelle che tremano I will win. When you understand how to hear your voice, listen to your heart, pair it with your head, you will win. Sometimes all you need to do is reach out a hand and say, get me out of my forest. It's been a pleasure and a delight for you guys to allow me to come up. Thank you. Jenna and Tracy, part of what helps me out is being in contact with you. If you want to be in contact and get a video clips, get my blog, get updates, you name it, information about retreats, you guys are passing around a bowl. If you wouldn't mind putting your business card in it, I would appreciate it very much. And